Florida State's biggest recruiting week starts right now.
You are Locked On Seminoles, your daily podcast on the Florida State Seminoles. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello to this special edition of Locked On Seminoles. Going to feature 4 players that are visiting the Noles midweek. And after that, getting into the latter half of this week, we're going to talk about the massive official visit list that Florida State has coming up for the Friday, June 21st weekend. I don't think many people realize just how good it is. This is the kind of weekend that Georgia and some of these other programs have a lot of times. Florida State's really knocking on the door that they want to have a great class to make it happen. But it starts right now. We're going to talk about 4 prospects that are all really good coming to visit Florida State starting today. Today's show is brought to you by LinkedIn Jobs. Thank you very much for them being the recruiting sponsor across the Locked On Network. Truly appreciate it. So the first player I want to talk about is Jared Smith out of Alabaster, Alabama, just south of Birmingham. He plays at Thompson High School. Very unique in terms of his size. 6'6", 235, 240, somewhere in that range. Size 18 shoe, and I've seen it with my own eyes. They are massive feet. He's not buying any shoes in any stores. He's got to order what he gets. This is a young man that I think is going to be 275 pounds at some point. I recently spoke with an SEC coach. They don't know how big he's going to get or whatever, but the short of the conversation is as follows. You have to take that kid because of the frame. You can't teach it. They have no idea how he's going to turn out either, but you can't teach what he has physically. So I thought that was really interesting because when you walk up to him and shake his hand, like his hands are massive, obviously size 18 feet. It's unique. Georgia, Alabama, Auburn, Tennessee, South Carolina, Florida State, elite offer list across the South. I don't know where he's going to end up. South Carolina is a program that's been rumored with him for a long time, and he's even told me before, hey, I've got a good relationship with the Gamecocks coaching staff. Florida State, I haven't heard as much with him, which is interesting because they always recruit the state of Alabama. They have for staff after staff. They always have recruited that state. But this is a kid, again, has offers from everybody. So he's looking for relationships. Really nice kid, easygoing guy, good family. I really don't know where he's going to go. Georgia or Auburn or something like that is very possible. But Florida State's got a tremendous staff when it comes to not selling frills. We are who we are, be a part of our family atmosphere, kind of like Bowden used to do, honestly. And I think that might fit Jared. I'm curious to see. His visit will wrap up on Wednesday, early Thursday, whenever they have him coming out the door. If by Sunday we don't hear something, I'll be surprised. But I'm curious to see where he stands with Florida State because I think he would be a fit. That's just my own projection. That is nothing to do, nothing to do with Jared. That's just my own opinion. I'm curious because I've been around him a few times. You're a really nice guy. I'm curious to see what he thinks. Great prospect. I think it's 24/7. Might even be somebody else as well. He's a 5-star, so elite prospect. Make no mistake about it. This is a big-time player. To give you an idea of his official visit list, just for the sake of argument, South Carolina was May 31st. Before that was Ole Miss. Those were the first 2. And then this month, Georgia was June 7th, Tennessee the 14th. He's going to finish up with the Noles. So this is his last visit as well. Next up is, ironically, this is bizarre, Ben Hanks Jr. Obviously, his dad played for Florida, was a linebacker in the 90s. He's a famous player there. I remember he wore number 11 for the Gators way back in the day. Top 100 prospect by 24/7. He's a corner, 6'1", 170 pounds, Booker T. Washington in Miami. I've seen him play many times on the gridiron and in 7-on-7. He could play corner, nickel, or free. I don't think it would really matter, but corner is where most teams are projecting him to play at the collegiate level. I just don't know where he's going to go. He's got Florida State, Sertan, and all those guys are going after him. He has the ties, obviously, to the University of Florida with his dad. Fair enough. And Miami is the hometown school, which is right down the road from where his high school is. That's a really unique list. And then if you look at his official visits, it's also a unique list. Louisville, May 31st, beginning of the month was UF. Then on the 14th, he had Georgia. And then he just got done, or he's getting ready to be done with his Florida State visit either tomorrow or on Thursday. And then to wrap up, he's got UM to finalize his visits for this summer. I have no idea where Hanks is going to go. I've heard different banter about him, but I've never heard anybody in the last month or so say, I know he's going to this school. It's a little more open. So I'm just curious to see what happens. I have no idea where Ben's going to go, but really, really good football player. Next up, this is a kid that Florida State probably has the least shot at from everybody this weekend, but a super talented player, and that's Jadon Blair, another guy in the secondary, 6'4", 190 pounds. He's out of Winston-Salem, North Carolina. Really, really athletic kid, can run the alleys, has the length you're looking for. Penn State and Notre Dame are the two teams to watch. Notre Dame's probably out in front by quite a margin. And unless Florida State knocks this one out of the park, he's probably going to end up in South Bend. His visits have been pretty consistent with the theme I just went through with the other kids. Really high level. Louisville was April. Then you get into this month, beginning of the month, you got Notre Dame. Then you had Michigan. Then you're going to have Florida State and going to finish with Penn State. I don't know if anybody can, from what I've heard from my Notre Dame contact, if anybody's going to overtake him, but you never know. If you get him on campus, you got a shot. But again, Jadon Blair probably going to end up playing for the Irish. Next up is Nicholas Clayton. And this is another situation kind of connected to Florida. Not that his dad played there, but he plays at Buchholz, which is a high school in Gainesville. Pass rusher, really athletic, undersized, 6'4", 205 pounds. He's a kid you're going to have to put on weight, probably going to redshirt, but he is shot out of a cannon. His film is really, really impressive. I don't know why he's not ranked higher, but I don't do all these rankings. Take it for what it's worth. Here's the visit list for this young man. Nebraska was May 10th, UCF May 29th, June 7th was Wisconsin, and then we went on to Tulane on June 13th and finalized with the Noles. This is a steal, and this is one of the kids. I love these stories. Florida State, I've said a million times, they do their own evaluations. Amen to that. We like him. We don't care what the rankings say. We're going to recruit him. He's fast, he's athletic, and he's almost identical in size to Patrick Payton at this point in his career. Payton was 205, 210 coming out of Miami, and when he signed with the Noles, obviously that's worked out. He had several sacks last year coming back and will probably enter the NFL draft this next spring. There's nothing wrong with taking an undersized guy that has long arms, is explosive, and plays hard. All of those traits fit Nicholas. Not saying he's a perfect prospect, an impact guy. He's going to need to add weight. But if he can get up to 220 by the time he enrolls at Florida State or whatever school he goes to, he'll play next year. Third and 8, when he doesn't have to take on a tackle head on, he's not going to beat up offensive tackles. Let's be honest. He's going to need weight room training for 1st and 10 play. But as a freshman, he played in 4 games, just pass rushing situations. You can play in 4 and still redshirt. Absolutely. You cannot teach foot speed that is just natural, innate, quick twitch mobility. That's what Clayton has. And he's a guy that I just think is completely underrated. It's ironic because he's from the state of Florida, but the Gainesville area doesn't get a lot of pub. The local paper and stuff covers it, but it's just not an area a lot of people go to. I think he's an underrated player that's really, really good. So good for him. Hopefully he finds a way to end up at a program that uses him the best, but I like him a lot. And I just, again, do your own evaluations. Not enough people do it. Nicholas Clayton is a kid that Florida State really likes, and I don't think Florida's recruiting him at all. It'd be ironic if he ended up in Tallahassee and ended up having some big games against the Gators somewhere down the road. Before I wrap up, just a reminder, we'll be going through the rest of the visit list, which right now is around 21 players, I think it is, for Florida State to come this weekend. Talk about their upside, the positions they could play, teams they're going to go against to land them. This is, without a doubt, Florida State's recruiting Super Bowl this week. It starts with the 4 players I just mentioned, but it's also going to go into a situation where you're looking at 5 to 10 of these kids you would think, beyond the ones that are committed, have a great chance to end up in Tallahassee. They're leaning Florida State's way for several of these kids. We're going to talk about them quite a bit on Wednesday and Thursday before the weekend. So everybody have a great one. Thank you very much.